awesome to have two of the most iconic characters part of Rebels here. We have Hera, Vanessa. I mean, it's just an amazing, the original space mom, right?
That's right.
And then we have the space kid. We don't have Taylor out here. It's Ezra. We went through a lot of transformations over that time period. So, I really want to get started because I really want to have, and be thinking about some questions about the last 15 minutes of this. We'll turn over to Q&A and if there's good opportunities for, to ask some really fun questions and things that I may not think of. Because my question to start off with is more on, how did you two get involved in Star Wars? I mean, this is a huge community and a wonderful fandom. How did you get involved in this series? Did Uncle George call? How did this happen?
Well, first of all, I just want to give a shout out to everyone who walked all the way over here. Thank you very much. # Star Wars family. Love you. Thank you for being here. Yay for the effort that you had to make to come be here. We appreciate you and 501st. Much like, and I see, is that a Mandalorian? Hello, family. Hello. That was a Rookcast. That was greetings from Rookcast, Darth Maul's minion from Clone Wars. I don't know. That was another role. I looked over at Dave Filoni and said, I can die now because I got to play a Mandalorian. Mando for life, right? Hey. Anyway, to your question, we get auditions emailed to us, and we never know what anything is half the time, and most things are code-named like taco or shoe or, so truly, I got invited to a Mass Effect convention, and I said, why are you inviting me? And they said, because you're in all 3 Mass Effect games. I said, I am? Well, because when I auditioned for them, they were Oreo cookie and other things, and so when they come out, I never know what's what. But when we got this copy, it was called Wolf, and it was sort of there was a collection of lines, and there were a couple references to I think a guy called Sandwalker, and I was like, sounds like Skywalker. But I see Star Wars in everything. Even at the supermarket, I'm like, that guy is so Darth Vader. He may seem one way, but he's got a big backstory, blah, blah, blah. You cannot fine-tune evil. There's always a reason, whatever it is. So I see Star Wars in everything, and luckily in this particular audition, it panned out for me because I brought my love that I have for the saga to the audition copy, and I figured at least it would be specific. It might not be Star Wars, but they would respect my audition because it felt, as meaningful as Star Wars is to me. And when I got a call back, I looked up and I saw a Twi'lek on the wall, at which point I realized, wait a minute, what? And then I remembered, oh, Disney bought Star Wars, wait a minute. And then I looked in the booth and there was Dave Filoni. Try and act normal. I was like, whoa, my whole life flashed before me. And I've said this in other interviews that I kept the parking pass because I actually thought that's as good as my life would get, was this callback. I was like, I'm so grateful. Anyway, and then it was narrowed down to 3 people, and all the creatives had to agree on whomever got it, so they all chose me, and I fainted and wept, and here we are, and I'm deeply grateful for all.
Very different. I was reading for a project called Wolf as well, and I thought it for sure was the Jungle Book. And I was like, I'm reading for Mowgli, let's go. I didn't pick up on the Sandwalkers or the light sticks or the special abilities. I thought it was Baloo. And so I read for it to you do, sent in the tape. I'd never done an animated thing before, so it was my first voiceover audition. And I remember my agent was like, record it in your closet like you do a normal tape, but just don't turn the camera on. Okay, sure. And then I think it took a month or so, we got called back in, and we went to Disney. I didn't know who Dave Filoni was, so I walked in wearing a Philadelphia Flyers hat, which, if anyone knows, he's a huge Pittsburgh Penguins fan. And he was ragging on my hat, and I was like, this guy's crazy. Chill out. And did the callback, and then I think a week later, they're like, hey, they're offering you the thing, and it's Star Wars. And I was like, oh, wow, it's not the Jungle Book. And I was like, I'm glad they didn't tell me because I probably would have messed it up. So now it's been whatever 80 episodes of the show, and it's been so special and the coolest project to be involved in. And it's been amazing to be a part of this huge galaxy. How we...
Yeah, we like, for me, like, the same for Ezra, like, you started out, like, your character was really young. It progressed. I mean,
Yeah. And there was a lot of that is Dave Filoni and the conversations that we would have at the beginning of every season. He would take each one of us and tell us like where we were at the beginning of that season and where we were going to be at the end of it. And then we would find the arc in there. But he said something to me very interesting early on. I came in and was very honest, and I was like, hey, I feel like I'm a little left out of this because every reference is like a Star Wars reference to this like deep knowledge about something that I was like, I've never heard of that person. And I know, it was sad. It was really sad. And I was like, okay, I can study, I can go learn it. And he was like, don't. I can tell you don't know what some of these things are. And he's like, there's a misconception in Star Wars that every character in the Star Wars universe knows everything that the fans know. All of these different characters, all these different worlds. But he's like, Ezra's never been off Lothal. So when he goes to space in the first episode, he's like, this is crazy, I'm in space. He's not aware that he's in Star Wars and that there's canon and all these movies. He's just trying to get by and steal my Lou runs. So Dave was like, don't watch anything until we're done, and I'll let you know things that you need to know, but your knowledge of just seeing a couple of these films works for Ezra because you think that you know what you're doing, and maybe you have no clue. And so it worked out, and I think you see that with Ezra as he progresses over the course of the series.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, did either one of you feel like obviously you don't know where the characters are going. You got your prep, and you've got your, this is what's happening this episode, maybe a little bit of what's happening this season. What was your original thoughts where the characters would progress on your own, just out of curiosity? Like, versus
the dark
where
side.
you ended up?
Jedi.
Yeah.
Well, I think Hera was questing to bring this group of chosen individuals together to form this kind of chosen family. And I think for me, at the end of season 1, when Ahsoka Tano descends, down into the ship, and we get to see Ahsoka, when we got to see Rex, when we got to see Hondo, when all these people came back for me, and then Hera got different titles, and it seemed like she put aside her relationship with Kanan for the cause. There were lives at stake, and it really wasn't a time for romance. It was a time to be of service and help people. And I think in a way, I'm not glad that Hera learned this lesson, but I do think it's something valuable for all of us to know how vital it is to let people know how much they matter. Because she wished she had more time with Kanan. And I mean, most people in the world, if not America, we work like 12 different jobs. We're constantly working. We're always on our grind. There's not a lot of downtime, to be like, hey, you mean a lot. But when that occurred, when suddenly, Kanan, spoiler alert, sacrificed himself.
You what?
Wait a minute. Hold up. And we all experienced that loss together. I was saying earlier today that Filoni decided to put that in the middle of the season as opposed to the end because he wanted us all to heal through it. And I think there's not only a valuable lesson in knowing that as a community we can get through anything together, and that crisis can bring us closer rather than farther apart, but also, Hera kept saying, I thought I had more time. So if there's anyone that you care about, make a point to let them know they matter. Because I feel like that's what I learned from Hera's arc, and I try to let people in my life know that they matter as often as I can, because nothing is guaranteed and life is too short. So I didn't see that coming. I did not know Kanan was not going to be there for the rest of the season. I did not see that coming. That was a surprise.
Okay. All the time for every episode, which I think they told us was like a precedent that George Lucas had set on Clone Wars, because again, this is my first voiceover jobs. So I was trying to learn as fast as I could from people like Vanessa and Steve and these legends in voiceover, where the first take we did of anything, I'm talking here, and then I was talking here, and I was talking here to all the people in the room, and Dave was like, that was great, but we could only hear like 2 of the lines. And I was like, oh, that's right, like, it's to the mic. And there was something that happened by us all being in a room together. You got that energy, and everyone was embodying their character, so even between recording, you're staying in that zone with everyone, and certain people are, like Vanessa was saying, like, playing the role of a mom, and Steve is cracking little jokes, and everyone is staying in this zone, so you're sort of perpetuating this dynamic that has been created. And then when a guest star would come in, especially if they were evil, we would push them off to the other side of the room, and they were like distant from us, and it was just super fun. And then I did one other thing after, voiceover-wise, and I was by myself, and I was like, what are we doing? I don't know how this was said to me. How am I going to respond accordingly? And so it was really such a blessing to all be together. And I think, as you said, you really feel that dynamic in Rebels. And what I think is so cool is it reminds me of episode 4, A New Hope. Like that dynamic on the ship, that you could feel that they were really a little family in there. It's reminiscent in Rebels, and I love that aspect of it.
And this is kind of more of a personal question. So, I mean, and you guys kind of touched on, each of you had very different experiences in all of this. You know, you came as a fan, and more into, you know, like I know this stuff, you know, coming in. You're coming in, like, I'm the new kid on the block, you know, I know a little bit, you know, I know who Darth Vader is, but I don't know this whole story of what's going on here. How has your experiences coming into that community and like some of the things you do? Because I mean, like one of the huge things we do is, you know, like and our Star Wars community is charity and everything else. How have you been welcomed by fans, and has this translated into things outside of that, you know, in your world?
Yeah, I mean I really mean when I say this is the coolest fan base of anything, and it's got to be the biggest fan base of any sort of franchise. I always think of like the Beatles as a pillar of music, and Star Wars is a pillar in cinema. Like it just has been that way forever. And I think it's especially cool when you go to something like a celebration, and like celebration is unbelievable. You have people who speak different languages all coming together and have this one shared love of storytelling, of good versus evil, and it's incredible. And I think it's so expansive and accepting and open. I love it, and I really love coming to events and speaking with fans. One, to see how the work has affected them and how they've associated parts of their life with it, but also to hear their sentiments. And I've learned so much from fans of the shows and films, because you guys know so much about Star Wars, and it's amazing. And so it's just been like a really, really beautiful group to be a part of. And like you said, very philanthropic, and it's all over the world. You say Star Wars, and no matter where you are in the world, people know what you're talking about, which is really cool.
Well, the first year that we began, 10 years ago, crazily enough, we did something for Star Wars Day. We went to the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, and the 501st were there, and the kids got to meet C-3PO and everybody, and it was just such a lovely time, and it let me know that sort of there's the work and the storytelling and the business side of things, but there's very much an emphasis on giving back, and that meant the world to me. I just launched my own Twitch channel. It's the same as my Instagram handle, at Vanessa Marshall 1138. And on it, I currently have, my first stream is on Wednesday nights at 5 Pacific. It's called Women Crush Wednesday. And I'm playing the video games that I voice. I'm in over 122 different video games, and I bring voiceover actresses that are in the franchise with me, and we raise money for charity while we play. And we did our last stream, I played Grey Delisle, Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom. I play Gamora and she plays Captain Marvel. And we raised money for Black Girls Code, which supports girls of color getting involved in tech. Their goal is to get 1 million girls of color into tech by 2040, so we were supporting that. And in turn, my next stream is going to be #StarWarsFamily. And we actually had a last-minute stream this past Monday. I don't know if any of you saw on my Instagram feed. I met Sam Sindula, who is an incredible cosplayer who dresses up as Hera. We met at Disneyland, and there's another lovely girl on Instagram. Her name is Indy Speeder. She was at the Bad Batch premiere. Maybe some of you follow her. She dresses as Hera as well. She has Down syndrome. So we did a stream on Monday night called #StarWarsFamily, and we raised money for the National Down Syndrome Society in her honor. And I had all kinds of cosplayers on my stream channel talking about what Hera means to them, and I'm trying to create a place where we can have fun and pay it forward. And I learned all that by working with Lucasfilm and getting a base here in terms of what we did on that first Star Wars Day, May 4th. I'm trying to sort of continue in that spirit, and ultimately I want my Star Wars Family stream to be where I play different video games that are in the retro IP. Like I play Jan Ors in Jedi Knights, and I play Hera in Star Wars Squadrons. I don't know if any of you have played these video games. But I'm going to have Sam Witwer over, Matthew Wood, who's the voice of Grievous. He also wants to come and join us. And so, it's focusing on giving back, but using this app called Tiltify, they donate the money directly to whichever charity we choose to, give back to. And so none of the money comes to me. It all goes to, whichever organization. And I'm just so grateful to have made friends at these cons, and we get to hang out on a weekly basis on my channel, and I educate people about different ways to give back. So that has become my mission, is to have fun and pay it forward. And so I throw that out there as one, how this job has impacted my own life and what I want to focus on and care about as a person roaming the earth. It's just left an indelible mark, and I hope I can give back forever and ever. So, yeah. My most important thing is to let everyone know that they matter. So, I'm telling you right now, you matter. I love you.
The best single moment you had doing Rebels? And I know that's a hard one. And you might just have to narrow it down to one that's going to stick out into your head, because there's probably a lot.
Flying the B-Wing. That episode, my dad's a pilot, and so when Hera spoke about flight and the meaning of flight, I dedicated that. My dad was in the Air Force, and he's a quiet birdsman, and thank you to all the veterans or anyone who's being of service in that way, serving our country right now. Thank you for your service. But that episode touched me deeply, and I dedicated that monologue to my dad, and it was just a lovely way to be close with him. He's not really like a Star Wars fan at all. He had no idea. He's like, pal, you've got things coming off your head. Dad, those are brain tales. He's like, I'm sorry, what? Yeah. But anyway, my dad has a good sense of humor, and he looks like Ron Burgundy, so if you can imagine. And he's a newsman too, so he's always like, pal, you have green tails coming out of your skull, or he's always reporting live. But anyway, that meant a lot to me, because my dad has been lecturing me all the time about getting a pilot's license and all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I play one on TV, it's good. But the B-Wing was very special for a million reasons.
Mine's gonna be Jabba the Hutt. That's my favorite moment.
Awesome.
That's awesome. We have two mics set up strategically over there.
My name's Jason Teston. Vanessa, how'd you feel when Hera, basically that final episode of a spoiler, basically found out that she had a son and basically wasn't exactly like Kanan and Pieces of Paul?
Well, I hear there's a GIF that you can look up online of me eating a bar in the screening, seeing that she's had a baby, and Taylor's sitting right next to me, and I'm going,
I thought she broke my arm, how hard she grabbed you.
yeah. Well, y'all, I'm not going to explain how these things go down, but there's a lot of math and science that goes into creating another life, and I figured I'd get a heads up on that, but I had no idea, and I also didn't know that they had night vision cameras at the screening. And I was fully starving, so I was like, I'm just going to eat a little bar before it ends. And then it was like, oh. So I have like food in my mouth, and it's great. I'm sorry if I'm ruining your perception of Hera with my humanity tonight.
No.
I am 100% human.
You did fine.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, sir.
Just me? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Take your time.
I've grown up on y'all throughout my childhood, so this is a little... my name's Lola Cax, and what is y'all's favorite line that y'all have done throughout the series?
Job with it, I might just do my answer for everything now.
We have hope. Hope that things will get better. And they will.
Yes, sir.
Steve Bloom in person.
Steve Bloom is hilarious. Should we call him?
How much does he like the character?
Well, does he like the character? He smells just like him.
Well, he doesn't talk like this. You know, he doesn't really talk like that, but he's a maverick. He's a goofball. You know, I don't know. We're always playing around, and he's making fart sounds and like. And I mean, I'm sorry.
He's the best.
I'm not trying to like, you know, but I mean, he's just like, you know, doing stuff like that, and we're all like, done this series, doing a scene, and then he'll go. You know, so he's just a clown, and I mean, not that Zeb was making fart sounds, but you understand what I'm saying. He was always like keeping it
bringing light. It was great. He also played like so many characters on the show.
Oh my gosh.
I would turn over, I was like, wait, who else is in the booth? And it's just Steve doing a different stormtrooper, which was incredible.
Yes, yeah. But he was very much like his character too. I think this show was particularly well cast in that the way we worked together as a crew in the booth and also in the show was very, very similar. The energies were the same, and so they had the foresight to unite us in that way. Yeah.
Hi, do you guys remember a moment while recording this show that completely changed your life? Like maybe it could be a scene or some kind of moment while on set. Some kind of maybe emotional impact somehow.
I got a couple. I mean, well,
That's a good question.
There was, I think, it was season 5 that came out of the Clone Wars, and I had questions about the conversation between Yoda and Qui-Gon. I think it was, there was a scene that dealt with sort of the afterlife and death, and of course we had the world between worlds. When everyone left, and I got to speak to Dave Filoni by myself about that and have him say like, well, the Force is about balance, and he just went off, and it felt like he was channeling George Lucas or something, and I just, my mind was blown, and I remember getting in my car after and just thinking like, how did I get so lucky, you know? Like Dave Filoni just broke down a pivotal scene that, like, if these characters, if Obi-Wan can come back, if these characters can be here or in the world between worlds or wherever else, and to have the man firsthand take time to answer my question. It was so generous in spirit. He did not have to do that. But I mean, I feel blessed every day, but in that moment I just thought, whose life is this? How did this, I'm so grateful. And it just cracked my heart open in a way that I couldn't drive for like 20 minutes. So that was one, and then another one was meeting Peter Mayhew down at Star Wars Weekends. And Chewie was my first action figure, and I felt so, I couldn't look him in the eye, not only because like super famous people, you know, you want to be respectful of their personal space, you don't be like, hi, you know, and so I worried that I was not being nice to him in my effort to, you know, just be cool and whatever. I hope I wasn't rude to the guy, you know, but when at the end of it, they gave us these Mickey Mouse ears, and it was his birthday, and they brought a Millennium Falcon cake forward, and he walked for the first time. He had just had surgery to be able to do the movie, and he walked to the cake and blew out the candles. And Molly, I don't know if Molly's in here somewhere, but there she is. Molly was my handler, and Ryan, her husband, thank you both for being here. They drove up from Orlando. Oh my gosh, I owe you like 1,000 meals on Postmates for the rest of your life. But I said to Molly that day, that was like the last day. And remember Molly, I said, Molly, can you just pull over for a sec? And she was like, are you okay? And I said, yeah, can you just pull over? And I pulled over and I hugged her. And I just was like, Molly, how did this happen? Like, I'm so grateful. You guys, I mean, dude, Peter Mayhew blew out a Millennium Falcon cake? I was like, what is happening? You know, we just had to pause for a minute, and I hugged her, and we've been friends ever since. And that was 10 years ago. And that's Star Wars family right there. So that moment also, again, cracked my heart open. I just can't believe it. I'm such a huge fan. So, I mean, please. Thank you.
What about you, Taylor Gray?
Moments. I mean, everything was a beautiful moment. How do I follow that? Jabba the Hutt. Dang, I can't do it 3 times. No, I mean, it eventually hits you that it is Star Wars. I realized, like, oh yeah, growing up, everyone, there were Star Wars lunchboxes, Star Wars pencils, Star Wars t-shirts all around you. It's a thing of like, if you're looking for blue in your life and then someone says, oh, what were all the red things? You didn't realize they were all around you. And I think being a part of the show, you started to see like the decals on every other car. Like, it is so huge and incredible. I think there's certain moments of the show where it really dawned on me that how connected we all are. But the thing that I thought was funny, the whole show, I started badgering Dave. I was like, let me say, may the force be with you. Just let me say it. It's gotta happen. Everyone's gonna come to Jedi. And by the end, when he has his own iteration of may the force be with you always, but I was like, all right, now we're here. Now we're playing in the real sandbox. So that was a very cool moment for me.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So my question is, was there ever a moment where you realized that your characters were going to go well beyond just rebels? And if you ever did feel like that whenever you were doing your voicing, did it affect how you continued to voice? Like, say you started in season 3, you're like, oh wow, this character is going to go a very long time, and then did that change how you acted, or did you just keep going the way you were?
I mean, I've always approached every character that's going to go for a long time, and then the show gets canceled, and I'm like, I had some big plans, guys. But with this one, Dave would set up each season, but I think he did actually know it was going to be 4 seasons. He kind of said right at the beginning, they knew, because with Clone Wars, I think the way he spoke about it is it ended before he got to finish his story, and that's why they came back around to put the bow on it as he wanted. But when at the end of Rebels, when Ezra jumps to hyperspace with the Purrgil and Thrawn, I was like everyone else. I was like, Dave, is he okay? He's like, and if anyone knows Dave or seen interviews, he's not going to tell you anything. So he was just like, I guess we'll see. So I really had no idea either. But it's so beautiful that he has carried on.
I had no clue. I mean, when in, I think Rogue One, when they're like, paging General Syndulla, paging General, I was like, life insurance policy. You know, yeah, you just never know. I mean, here's the thing. The story is the most important thing. The story is the most important thing. So whether it includes me or not is none of my business. And I know that they know what they're doing. So therefore, I just bow down to, I mean, clearly they have made every right choice possible, and I observe that and take my place within that structure, and I'm always amazed by what happens next. So I just stay in the moment, and I had no idea what might happen or not happen, so.
Thank you.